Travel in 2026 isn't just about where you go, it's about how you travel. In this episode, I'm sharing what's ahead for the podcast and how we're helping you plan with more confidence this year.
Welcome to the Global Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is founder of the Global Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. Each week, Tracy is joined by expert guests as she takes you on a journey to destinations around the world, sharing travel inspiration, itinerary ideas, and practical tips to help you plan your next adventure. Join us as we explore everywhere from bustling cities to remote landscapes, uncover cultural treasures, and discover the best ways to make your travel dreams a reality.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Global Travel Planning Podcast in 2026. It is lovely to have you back. I'm going to start off by saying a huge thank you again to every one of you who listens to episodes, downloads, shares, and supports the podcast. We truly appreciate your support. The podcast is growing to over 4,000 downloads a month, which is really, really exciting for us. And if you've just joined us and you've just found the podcast, there are a huge number of episodes, I think 80 something in the back catalogue. So plenty of episodes to go back and have a listen to. I will also just mention that this podcast is also connected with the globaltravelplanning.com website, which we are overhauling at the moment and is going to look absolutely amazing. So do check it out, because often any of the podcasts that we do, we add show notes, but we also have articles which will help you plan, prepare, including resources, all sorts of things, all sorts of goodies on the website. So do go and check it out. But if you're a podcast listener rather than somebody who likes the website, we are happy to have you here at the podcast. And also a big thank you as well to our long-term listeners. I know we have some fantastic fans out there. So again, thank you to all of you for tuning in. Now, the podcast, I came up with this podcast, I think we must have been going for just over 2 and a bit years now, because I wanted to provide something that was inspirational and practical. So to share, real travel stories, also combined with the planning advice, because obviously when Doug and I sit and plan a trip, we go through that process and we want to share based on the fact that we have, between us, I don't add up our ages, well over 100 years of experience to travel. And I've been traveling since I was actually really young, and independently actually since I was 16, first time I took a flight on my own. So we want to not only be inspirational, there's a lot of inspiration out there, but we also want to be practical. But we also, we want to be real people as well, because we know out there's so much AI drivel, to be honest, quite a lot of it out there, that is just unhelpful and confusing and overwhelming. In fact, there's so much information out there these days. I think you can feel totally overwhelmed. But anyway, we are hoping to help you feel more confident about making your travel decisions. So again, people that we have on this podcast, we don't just have travel journalists. We don't just have travel professionals. We do have travel bloggers on the podcast. I work, my full-time job is in travel. But those destination specialists and local experts may be just normal people who've moved to live in that country or have spent a reasonable amount of time, traveling to and living in a particular destination. So we do have regular people who've been on a, fantastic trip and they come on and share that with you. We do have travel bloggers. We do have podcasters who work in travel, but everybody who's on the podcast is somebody who loves travel. They love it, whether it's their job or whether it's just something that they love doing. And I assume because you listen to the podcast that you are also in that bucket. Now, I just want to kind of share a little bit of what is coming up in the podcast in 2026. So we're going to be looking at a broad mix of destinations. So I know in the next 6 months, this is what I've already got scheduled. I spent all of yesterday. I'm actually sitting in a very hot room at the moment in Brisbane, in Australia, where it is really hot. I've had to turn the aircon off so you don't hear the noise. So I spent all of yesterday chatting to people, sending emails out and scheduling podcasts with people who've just come back from a trip, destination specialists, just people who've got interesting stories to tell about visiting various destinations around the world. So this is what we have got coming up that I can confirm. We've got Antarctica, Switzerland, the Peruvian Amazon. I'm so excited about that episode. Morocco, the Philippines, exploring Europe by motorhome. Well, that is something I can't wait to find out about from Kerry. So there's going to be a balance. We will be talking about some big bucket list destinations. I understand that, but also included in that, we do share practical advice on how to actually plan those trips. And again, I link to the destination specialist websites as well. So you can go and join their Facebook groups. You can check out their websites. So we are here to make planning travel as easy as possible for you and as joyful as possible. Now, we'd like you to get involved. What would you like to hear about? What destinations or topics do you want to know about? Where are you planning to go in 2026? Leave me a message. Leave me and Doug a message, because he does help out this podcast as well. Leave us a message via SpeakPipe as a voice message, and let us know where you are planning to go in 2026. I really want to know. So I've actually just did this on my friend Amanda Kendall's Thoughtful Traveler podcast, the Thoughtful Travel podcast, and where she actually had a whole bunch of people and we're sharing where we're going to go in 2026. So I will link to her episode because it was really cool. And I shared in that where I am planning to go. And I will link to that in the show notes. And also, we really love your feedback, because it does help me decide what sort of things you want to listen to, whether you want more tips, whether you want more destination experts, whether you want more stuff about how to travel by train around the world, that sort of thing. It really, really helps. Now, I've been kind of listening to lots of things, reading lots of things about what's looking big in travel for this year. So it seems to be that slower, more intentional travel is going to be more in fashion this year, which I am going to be fully behind that, because I spent, as you probably know if you read or listened to our kind of wrap up of 2025 travel, Doug and I traveled to, I don't know how many countries it was in the end. It was a lot. I know I did 16 flights, maybe 23 countries or something crazy. It was a lot. So I did feel that by the end of the year that we had done probably too much and spent too short a period of time in quite a few destinations. So it can become quite exhausting. So this year, more intentional travel. So that's thinking about where you're going and traveling slower. And that is definitely something that Doug and I are reflecting on when it comes to future travels. We want to spend longer in fewer destinations. It's not about ticking off how many countries we've been to or ticking off a bucket list, because it's very easy to fall down that trap. It's very easy to get competitive, because I know lots of people who do count for whatever reason. But it's like, I don't know, everybody always wants to have the highest number. I just want to have the best experiences. And often this is about also going back to some of the places that we loved. And Doug and I have talked about it, honestly. For us, New Zealand and Japan, we love Cambodia, I love Morocco, I love India. Those are all countries that I absolutely kind of top of my list to spend more time in. And again, that fewer destinations, deeper experience, that mode of considering travel, that I think is becoming more important, spending more time in one country or region rather than kind of jetting from here, there to everywhere, which again, I'll hold my hand up and said, Doug and I did too much of that last year. Also, more of an interest in food, culture, history, and everyday life. As you probably know, Doug and I love our food and we love food tours. So Devour food tours are our absolute go-to. We have done some absolutely fabulous Devour food tours. I've just been booked on to do the Taste, Tales and Traditional Ales, British pub tour in London again in May. I am so excited, I can't tell you, because not only is it the food, you learn about the history and the culture. You learn so much on those food tours. Last year we did some fantastic food tours in Spain. We did some in Italy. Previously we've done some in France. Honestly, I could eat my way around Europe because I think the food is delicious. So food tours absolutely top of my list, and so I'm glad to see those are actually something that is going to be be, more of a focus in 2026. And we do have a link to Devour food tours in the show notes, so do check that out. Also about overland travel has been part of the experience. Now, this is something Doug talks about all of the time. In fact, we ask that when we do our consults, when we help people travel, plan their travels to the UK. Is it about the destination or is it the journey? And Doug so much loves the journey to the destination, and that's because he loves train travel. We love train travel. Doug and I could happily spend the rest of our lives just traveling the world by train. Not sure how we'd get overseas and underseas, things like that. There's a slight few problems with that. But most of the time, if we can travel by train, we absolutely would. Also, road trips are going to become more and more popular. Camper vans and motorhomes, apparently. And that's something Doug and I have not tried. And I actually am keen to try it and see if it's something that we actually enjoy doing. Because I have heard from people who motorhome, and they say really you need to try it out before you decide to make it a lifestyle choice. Road trips. I have a fantastic road trip planned in end of April. I'm going to be traveling up through England to the Scottish Isles.
Hi travelers, I'm a friend of Tracy's and I'm hosting a free online event that we think you'll love because it's all about helping you plan a trip to Europe or the UK in 2026. I'm excited to bring together over 30 travel experts to share their insider recommendations with you, and Tracy will of course be talking about the UK in our Gem Destinations of 2026 session. This virtual conference is called the DIY Trip Summit Europe Beyond the Crowds, and it will be free to attend January 13 to 15 for all who register. So be sure to use Tracy's link to sign up. Our experts are not only covering up-to-date destination advice, but also sharing practical, tried and tested trip planning ideas so that you come away with strategies and tools that will make a big difference in your own trips, whether you're just visiting the UK or really anywhere that you want to go. So I've curated 3 days worth of inspiring and actionable presentations for you so you can learn which apps are essential to have, where to find deals, what rules are changing for visitors, as well as inspiration and insights for all types of trips, including road trips and camper vanning, the Camino and other lesser-known pilgrimages, travel with limited mobility, multi-generational trips with kids or grandkids, food and wine adventures, using miles and points, and more. Again, you can grab your free ticket through Tracy's link to get access to 3 days of our expert-led presentations, plus a pop-up Facebook group and live Zoom calls, so you can get your travel questions answered by our experts and interact with fellow travelers. If you're planning a trip in 2026, you won't want to miss the DIY Trip Summit. We designed it to help independent travelers like you feel secure in your plans. So whether you're traveling solo or bringing the grandkids, you'll walk away knowing how to plan smarter, spend wiser, and uncover moments that make your Europe or UK trip unforgettable. We hope to see you there.
I'm actually heading to the Isles of Lewis and Harris, which I'm very excited about, which is going to be my first time there. So that's going to be a fantastic road trip. And if you listen to a podcast a few episodes ago, Doug and I actually drove, everybody thinks we're mad, from Brisbane to Perth and then Perth to Brisbane. So we did that entire trip. Took us 10 days one way and 15 the other, mainly because Doug was flying from Perth and I wanted to go and spend some time with my daughter who lives in Perth. But wow, what an amazing trip that was. And that was just so amazing to see the different scenery across Australia. I can't tell you. And I loved the Nullarbor. And anybody who calls it a bore, honestly, you didn't experience it properly because I absolutely loved it. Scenic routes and slower journeys, again, appeal talking about taking trains. I will have Carolyn from Holidays to Switzerland on next month to talk about some of the most scenic train routes and mountain excursions in Switzerland. I used to live in Switzerland. It's always a great joy to talk to Carolyn. And we're going to be talking about some of our favourite As I say, there's so many scenic train journeys. It's just, I've got stuff about the Bernina Express, Mount Pilatus, because those are the ones I absolutely love. So you can check out on the Global Travel Planning website as well. We do have an article about some of Switzerland's most scenic train journeys with photos from our travels. So that's that. I'm really, really happy to hear about that, because train travel in particular is something that we absolutely love. Apparently, getting to a remote or harder to reach destination is going to become more popular in 2026. And I guess we all know Antarctica has become incredibly popular. I've just returned from Antarctica. I have a bit of a dilemma about that. It was very, very well handled, the trip that I took to Antarctica, but I do wonder about the impact of potential over tourism in Antarctica over time. I don't know. Those are kind of, guess, once in a lifetime trips that people are prioritizing. And for sure, I loved Antarctica. We'll probably not ever go back again. It was extremely expensive. And it took a lot of time and effort to actually get there. But wow, it did blow my socks off, I have to say. Also, I think because we are in an age where there's so much information out there that, everybody's looking for confidence and clarity when planning, and trust, because, there's just so much out there. Everything feels much more complex to do. There's just an overload of information, often conflicting advice as well. Try and create an itinerary in AI, and a lot of the times it's completely wrong. You can maybe want to get some ideas from it, but I certainly at this point would not be planning a total itinerary using something like chat or any other AI really for that. And I think you may be looking for reassurance. You may be looking for people that you can trust, people that you can recognize as voices that you recognize, for example, for the podcast, for people to help you with your trip. So again, this podcast, you can reach out to most of the people that we talked to on the podcast have potential products and services around planning to get to their destination. And again, often if they do, I'll link to those in the show notes, so you can check that out, and you can go and book a consult or buy a planner for various countries. And also, I will mention there's going to be an important announcement, because we have Michelle Chang from Intentional Travelers on in a minute with a fantastic announcement. So hang on. If you are planning to visit Europe, you really, really need to listen to what she has to say, because it is so exciting and will make your life easier if you're planning to visit Europe this year. So again, we're all looking for ways to make things slightly easier. So how can Doug and I help? Well, we have an itinerary planning service for the UK. So we can help you plan your trip to the UK. If you already have an itinerary, we can do a video review of that and give you feedback and help kind of cut through the noise. And you're going to get this information from us. So we know what we're talking about. We have the experience. We have the knowledge. It's not coming from some random, AI source. So we offer that service for the UK. We are able to offer that service for other destinations around Europe as well, because I've lived all over Europe. Doug's also lived, for example, in Norway. I've lived in Switzerland. I've lived in France. And also he knows the train system in Europe particularly well. We've backpacked around Europe, I don't know how many times, by train. And even in the last few years, like the year before last, we travelled around Europe again, Northern Europe by train. And I was in Italy as well. So if you need some help with the UK and an additional destination, we are certainly able to help you with that. So, we can refine your pace and transport logistics. We could look at your plans and make sure it kind of matches your travel style and energy levels. Because I tell you what, I know I do this, try to put too many things in an itinerary. So we see that a lot. So I will link to that. I will link to the services that we offer around the UK. And you can go and check that out. So if that's what you want to chat to myself and Doug to talk to us about UK and further afield plans and see how it can help you, do check that out. Now, I also just want to reiterate that the Global Travel Plan podcast will run every other week. That's going to happen until at least July of this year. That is mainly because I was quite unwell at the end of last year. I was extremely tired. I actually did have a medical condition, which we've now sorted. So I'm actually fine. But for the last, probably from about July, I was not really firing on all cylinders, and sometimes you have to make difficult decisions. And so unfortunately, I'm putting this podcast on to every other week. But please keep following and please keep listening, because we do really value your support. But also, I also have to make sure of self-care and look after myself. The UK Travel Planning Podcast will continue weekly. That's approaching now nearly 600,000 downloads. Can you believe it? And that, again, there's lots of information about travel to London, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, lots of practical information, destination focuses, trip reports, just huge amount of information on the UK Travel Planning Podcast. So if you like this podcast, pop over there and check out the UK one as well. Right, I'm going to give you a quick update on my own travel plans for this year, because I want you to tell me where you're going. So when you listen to this and go, well, that sounds great, I want to tell Tracy where I'm going, hop onto SpeakPipe. The link is in the show notes, and leave me a message. Seriously, leave me a message. I usually 99.9% of time get back to people straight away, and we can have a chat, which is always really, really cool. Now, so January, I'm still at home because I'm mainly doing this. We'll be podcasting most of the month. And then I'm heading to the Philippines, actually from the 15th of February for 10 days. Doug and I are heading to the Philippines, which will be a first new country of 2026 for both of us. And that's actually really for more of a reset for me, because I just need to spend a bit of time relaxing. I'm actually going to an eco lodge that belongs to a friend of mine. She's also been on the podcast to talk about her journey to the Philippines and how her and her husband actually decided to build an eco lodge there. And it's great. I'm also going to go and see my dog, because I sponsor a dog in the Philippines called London. So I'll be going to go and help out there at the dog sanctuary, which I'm really looking forward to. So that's going to be really cool to see her, because I've kind of been supporting her since she was a small puppy. I'm hoping she gets adopted soon, but if not, I'll keep supporting her throughout her life. So that's going to be really cool. So wait, look out on stories on a Global Travel Planning Instagram. There'll be stories on there when I meet up with London, which I think is going to be really, really cool. After that, I'm actually flying back to Australia, heading over to Perth for a week. I'll be heading down to Bunbury. It's not somewhere I've spent much time. I've actually travelled there once before, because my daughter's going to be down there with her partner. Then I'll be going back up to Perth and flying on the 17-hour flight non-stop from Perth to Paris on Qantas. Now, this is the first time I'll have done that. As you probably know, I do not like flying at all, but I got a fantastic business class deal, so I could not resist it. So I'll be flying into Paris. From Paris, I'll be catching the Eurostar across to London. Again, I'll be taking photos and videoing this and chatting and sharing about how it goes. So if it's a journey that you're thinking about doing, I'll be doing this solo as well. Follow along. I'll be in the UK for a week before then I head to Morocco, where I'll be hosting a tour of Morocco with my friend Melissa from Ladies Who Travel. And then after that, I head back to the UK. Now, that's a second visit to Morocco, so I'm really excited again to get a different flavour of Morocco. And then I head back to the UK. I'll be in the UK for April, May and June. So that's be a longer space of time. I've got lots of wonderful and fun things that I'll be doing in the UK, and I'll be going to my usual places like the V&A. Everybody knows how much I love that place. And having afternoon teas and taking lots of train journeys and obviously like road trip. I also will be meeting up with some of the listeners of our UK Travel Planner podcast, which I'm really excited about as well. And I have a few trips planned with some friends as well. Potentially in June, I'll be heading to the Baltics because that's an area that I've not traveled to before. And then after that, I may head to South Africa, but that's all up in the air at the moment. So I know I said slower travel, and this is slower travel for me. I mean, I've got 3 months in the UK, so I'm not going to complain. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And again, if you want to follow along what I get up to in the UK, follow us on the UK Travel Planner on Instagram and YouTube, so you can follow along what's there, what's happening, and also the podcast, because I usually always do a trip report and tell you what I've been up to and what I've enjoyed the most. Anyway, so as I mentioned, we've talked about a lot of tips. Now I'm going to hand over to Michelle. Chang from Intentional Travelers. I did record that episode with Michelle a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully this will segue in okay. But anyway, let's listen to what Michelle has got to say about traveling to Europe and the DIY Summit, which I highly recommend that you get free tickets for. And I will link again in the show notes because it's going to be epic, and I am taking part in that too. Okay, I will hand over to Michelle.
Thanks, Tracy. Well, I've been on your podcast before, but glad to be back. So I teach independent travelers how to make travel easier, more affordable, more meaningful. And we do that through simple trip planning tools and skills like even smartphone use. And I do that even if you didn't grow up with today's technology. That's kind of our focus. My husband and I have been digital nomads since 2014. So we've been all over the world working online and living abroad. And yeah, so I run the Intentional Travelers Toolkit membership and then an annual DIY trip summit, which we talked about.
Yeah, and as I said, Doug and I are very excited to be part of that again for a second year. So let's share with our listeners, those who didn't listen to the podcast last year, so they're kind of new to it and they don't know about the DIY Trip Summit. Tell us what it is and how it can help travelers planning to visit Europe this year.
Well, it's a free online event. It happens in January, and we're excited to bring together over 30 travel experts, including Tracy, and they're going to be sharing their insider recommendations to help you travel in Europe and the UK smarter in 2026. So we're not only covering like up-to-date destination advice, but also just practical, kind of tried and tested trip planning ideas so that folks come away with strategies and tools that will make a big difference in whatever trip they're planning for themselves. So again, our goal is just to help you plan smarter, smoother, safer trips and save money, enjoy meaningful experiences. So we've basically curated 3 days worth of just inspiring and actionable presentations for you. Again, they're all free to attend. We also have live calls on Zoom once a day, each of the 3 days. And then we'll have a pop-up Facebook group so you can interact with your fellow travelers and also the speakers and kind of get your questions answered in a more personal way.
So absolutely the perfect way to start planning your vacation to Europe in 2026. And obviously the UK is included in that. So I'm doing a short presentation on the summit as well. Now, let's share the dates. So when is it and how can people sign up? I will say that I will be putting a link into the show notes in whichever podcast app you are, you will find a link there, but also on both our websites, you will also get a link to the summit. I will be putting that in for you to sign up. But what are the actual dates, Michelle?
Yes, it will be free online from January 13th to 15th. That's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then when you sign up, you'll get a free ticket to kind of access everything during that time. There's also an opportunity to upgrade if you decide you want extended access. So that's an option as well. And we have themes for each day. So the first day is Dream. We have fun things like slow travel, lesser known wine regions, mixing in soft adventure, some tips from a former food tour, pilgrimage routes that maybe you haven't heard of, and then gem destinations beyond the crowd. So we have a whole bunch of destination experts like Tracy who are sharing kind of their insider tips for specific regions. And then the second day is all about planning your trip. So really practical strategies, including using miles and points, other ways to save money, planning road trips, planning, if you are traveling with grandkids, multigenerational trips, that kind of thing. And then our final day is about Go, which is like travel tips and actually navigating on the ground in Europe and the UK.
Perfect. So really practical information. So inspiring and practical. And you have some excellent speakers coming on there, some excellent presentations. I'm looking forward as well to joining it and learning some things myself, because, you know, however much we travel, and I've lived in Europe, traveled around Europe, there's always new and exciting things to learn and know about from other people who are experts in those different areas. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So will people be able to sign up prior to the actual the first date? Is there like a pre sign up list?
There is a wait list if you find this kind of before the holidays, but yeah, once you use Tracy's link, you'll sign up for the free ticket, and that's pretty much all you have to do. We'll email you the links that you need to access the presentations and join those Zoom calls.
Perfect. So really easy and straightforward. Well, thanks very much for Michelle coming on the podcast. As always, you've been on the podcast a few times. You've been on the UK Travel Planning and the Global Travel Planning podcast. So I will also link to the different podcasts that you've done with me in the past as well. But yeah, always great to chat, Michelle.
Thanks.
Thanks again to Michelle for coming on and sharing all about the DIY Travel Summit. I will link in the show notes so you can get your tickets for that. And it's at globaltravelplanet.com/episode 87. I can't believe it's episode 87. It's crazy. We're not too far from the magic 100. Maybe on 100, I should do one about your favorite episode. Anyway, that is enough from me for this episode. Next time, which won't be next week, it'll be week after next, I'll be here to share all about my trip to Antarctica. So I can't wait to share that all with you. As again, I would like to say, leave us a message on SpeakPipe, leave us a review if you can. We really, really value that, and it helps others to find our podcast as well. But until then, as always, happy global travel planning. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Global Travel Planning Podcast. For more details and links to everything we discussed today, check out the show notes at globaltravelplanning.com. Remember, if you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on your favourite podcast app, because your feedback helps us reach more travel enthusiasts just like you. Anyway, that leaves me to say, as always, happy global travel planning.